broadcast.
Sir Albert Conference. The Drost effect. What do those two names have in common? One led to the other, and if you want to know how, then I invite you, dear listener, to keep on listening. But first, let's address the question you're no doubt thinking. What on earth is the Drost effect? Welcome to It's a Podcast. Here, we serve up frivolity wrapped up in an AI bun, topped with Dontac May serious sauce. In part 2 of volume 2, we stay on the subject of science. Get ready for something that will cook your noodle and fry your loaf. According to the entity known as Google, the Drost effect is described as a visual illusion where a picture recursively appears within itself, creating an infinite loop of smaller versions of the same image, like a picture within a picture within a picture, named after a Dutch cocoa brand's packaging. That's insane! This can't be real. Google goes on to state, this surreal effect, also known as mise en abîme, theoretically continues forever but is limited by image resolution, resembling an infinite mirror or fractal. So, dear listeners, can you picture it? A picture of a picture within a picture. And this is where circumference enters the story. You see, he was photographed holding a picture of himself, holding a picture of himself. And no, that was not a glitch in reality, and nor did I simply repeat myself. He was indeed holding a picture of himself, holding a picture of himself. But you might be thinking, how could he be already holding a picture of himself before the picture has even been taken of him holding a picture of himself? And this is where it gets complicated. I'm here to investigate the mystery behind what happened to Sir Albert Conference on that fateful day, and the mystery behind the mystery of this mysterious phenomenon. And I will discover that the origin of the term loopy comes from being stuck in an infinite loop. Oh yes, dear listeners, I did my research. But I hear you shouting, wait, the guy in the thumbnail for this video doesn't look like a knight. Yes, he's a guy who, in the 80s, decided to recreate the circumstances surrounding the mystery of circumference. And sadly, he was also caught in an infinite loop. Like reverse origami, we will carefully unfold the cautionary tale of Sir Albert Conference and the foolish imitator. But first, do you remember that in my last podcast I left you all with a question, in a chance to win 2 of those smelly things? Those, smelly meters. Remember the question? What does outer space smell like? Are you ready? The answer is nobody knows, because you can't smell anything in a vacuum. If you answered anything but that, then I'm sorry. No smelly device for you, I'm afraid. So the winner is nobody. Oh well, you win some, you lose some. Do you also remember that in my last podcast, I brought on a guest to interview? Professor Peggy 18? Well, she won't be returning because she died. However, we have her replacement, Peggy 19. She's hovering around here somewhere, which is a bit of a health and safety issue. Hopefully she's not as dull as her predecessor, although she is a degenerate, and by that I mean she's degrading. If you have not listened to part 1 of this volume in my series of podcasts, then you may be confused by what I just said, so allow me to clarify in just a few words. She is a clone, but she is here to provide her insights on this intriguing subject. We welcome you, Peggy 19.
Thanks, but just call me 19.
Well, 19, welcome to this podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. What are we discussing today?
That was totally unexpected. A bit too enthusiastic there, methinks. And you're welcome, Peg. 19. I'm investigating an incident that happened on Friday, July 7th, 1911.
Exciting! What happened?
A man by the name of Albert, a philanthropist, horologist, and part-time mycologist in his 60s, created an experiment that ended with him being trapped in an infinite loop.
Curious. He sounds like he was a busy man.
I think being busy is the least interesting thing about him.
But philanthropy, horology, as well as mycology. A man after my own heart.
He might have been all those things, but I don't think cardiologist was one of them. Anyhow, the incident.
Yes. He trapped himself in an infinite loop. How curious indeed. How did he do that? I don't think I've even heard of this case, although I believe the memories of the original Professor Cloisline are dwindling with each successive cloning.
It was kept hush-hush for many decades. One of his descendants emailed me the story. But as to how he came to be trapped in an infinite loop is a matter for discussion. It is one of the biggest scientific mysteries of all time, or it would have been if it hadn't been kept out of the public eye for 100 years.
So what was he doing before he became trapped?
He was getting his photo taken.
So, did the event have something to do with the light from the flashbulb?
You're joking, right? You're not serious, surely. I thought you were a physicist.
No, don't be silly. I'm a mobile janitor. For at least 3 days now.
This is very bad. This is very, very, very bad. Why in the world would I have called for a hovering janitor? Look at this place. It's spotless. I wouldn't need a floor-bound cleaner, let alone a floating one.
That's very hurtful, Bob. I don't get let out of the institute much. And they say I get in the way, although I only came out of the birthing vat a fortnight ago. But it feels like I'm a prisoner of eternity.
Don't call me Bob. Please. Look, I'm sorry. I'm not angry with you. I'm just disappointed, that's all. I wanted a scientific mind to help me unravel this mystery, like a curious kitten with a ball of wool.
I love kittens.
That's the point, isn't it? The real Peggy wouldn't have said that.
How would you know that, Bob?
I guess I expected more of you, but I suppose the higher the clone number means the lower the quality of the clone. After all, Peggy 18 did tell me that the experiment was based on copying a copy of a previous one, and so on, so it shouldn't. I told you not to call me Bob!
I thought that was your name?
My name is Robert. Bob is what you do when you're in the ocean waiting to be rescued after your fishing boat has capsized. And I'm not angry. It's just a quirk of my algorithm. Anyway, Circumference needs us now. You and I, we can help him together.
But I thought he lived in the early 1900s.
It's just a figure of speech. Close, Peg.
19. Please.
Okay, gotcha. So, let's take a look through some of my notes here. Let's see. Nope, that's just a demand for a gas payment. Bank statements. More bank statements. Ah, here we go. So, one of Sir Albert's descendants, someone who wants to remain a nonny mouse, sent me a document which purports to be a copy of a police report, written at the time of Sir Albert's accident.
Before you carry on, may I ask, where did this happen? Here in the US or in the UK?
He created the event at Tinkertoy Manor, Surrey. So, yes. Let's take a look at this police report. The name reads, Albert Impecuniosa Conference. Then it states, 60 years of age, standing at 5 feet and a few shillings, and weighing at around 100 plucked chickens, with an average human hairstyle, grey moustache and hazel eyes. Last seen wearing shirt, tie, jacket, trousers and shoes. Last seen at Tinkertoy Manor Garden with associates Peter Habit and Orwellian. Both reported the Lord as missing on Friday, July 7th in the year 1911. If you have seen this man, please contact our Crime Watch Division by telegraph on Freetel 0800 999 999.
That's very odd.
What is?
That the actual police report would speak to the public as if it was a matter of public record.
Well, it was a very different time. Maybe they circulated police reports back then. Anyway, it's very brief and to the point, isn't it? I wonder if there's a report with an interview with those... No, wait, I didn't see the second page.
Oh, Bob, what are you like?
Please, stop calling me Bob. This second page actually has the notes on the interviews, with a chap called Peter Habit and the woman called Orla Wellian. Let's read on. It says that Peter, full name, Peter Sistant Habit, was 49 years old at the time and had auburn hair with lilac highlights. He was dressed like someone going to a formal dinner and stood at 5 feet and 10 shillings tall. Orla Wellian, of no fixed abode, had vivid jade green eyes, wearing her bleached blonde hair in a Gibson tuck. She was wearing what is described here as a tasteful blouse with hobble skirt and was holding a parasol. Not to be confused with headache medication.
I'm going to offer some of my observations now.
Really? Well, okay then.
That name you just read, Peter. His surname is pronounced Abit. Secondly, feet and shillings.
You have to understand that it was a different time. Meters and inches hadn't yet been invented. And about Peter, I had no idea he was French. Thank you, Peggy. You may yet prove useful. Now, looking back at the interviews recorded in this police report, it says that both Peter and Orla observed Albert was carrying with him, at the time they last saw him, a Kodak number 1A Photographic Junior folding camera with 130mm f7.7 lens. Which, when you think about it, was a little too specific.
Maybe they were both camera enthusiasts.
Perhaps. But Albert would have had the camera out, ready to use. But just scanning the rest of the interviews, neither one mentions that.
So how do we know what happened to Sir Albert Comference? Did one of those witnesses state categorically that he got himself caught in a loop?
Good question. Actually, that's quite surprising, coming from a levitating janitor. Let's read on and find out, shall we? So, it seems they were interviewed separately. Peter's statements are first. So, he says that they'd all finished dinner at the manor and were out for a stroll in the gardens. Orla was carrying a large canvas bag for some reason and a parasol. Albert had his camera with him, and he was talking excitedly about a wonderful new experiment in illusionary optics.
Optical illusions.
That's what I said. Anyway, Peter goes on to relate that Albert was rambling on about being inspired by a Dutch brand of cocoa and had invested a lot of his fortune on shipping the product into East Anglia and up the winding canals.
Dutch cocoa?
My thoughts exactly. Sounds like it would only have brought bitterness. Moving on. Peter then goes on to say that Albert was explaining his concept to he and his lady companion when he tuned out and began to daydream about green women from Mars landing right there in the gardens. In his own words, or at least as written by the police constable, I wanted so much to be whisked away so that I no longer had to listen to his lordship's foolish notions. He finally states that Albert went into the hedge maze where he said he'd already placed a stool and a large mirror taken from Lady Naircist's bedroom. And that's it for Peter's statement. He just finishes with returning to the manor for a brandy.
Does he say whether the woman with the Panadol went at the same time?
Another good point, Peg. I mean 19. You're getting too smart now. There's nothing further here except Orla's statement, which we will now get to. Orla begins by saying how she and Peter had planned on a romantic walk in the gardens after dinner at Tinkertoy Manor. They happened to meet up with Circumference purely by chance. This is where we finally get a time of day, 7 p.m. She observes how the sun is still strong and warm, hence the parasol. Then we get something about her skirt restricting her movements, and that she wished she had put her hair up in a pompadour style instead of what she'd done. Oh, so she's French too?
No, but, Robert. She's obviously an English girl.
Well, I'm not really one for knowing the hairstyles of this century or their names, let alone the last one. So, where was I? Right here, reading this report as I've always been. Orla goes on to relate similar things to Peter, with one notable exception.
What's that then?
The report says that she followed Peter back to the bar at the manor, had one drink, and then returned to the gardens to look for Sir Albert.
That's interesting.
What did you find interesting? They're 19?
The fact she only had one drink. I think she's lying.
That's interesting. I mean, the fact that you found her alcohol consumption habits of interest, rather than the plight of poor Sir Albert.
You brought me here for my insights. I'm giving you them.
Farpoint. No, sorry, that's a location in the pilot episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. I meant Fair Point. So, there we have it. I think I've read the entire report. Any thoughts?
Yes. I'm thinking, I really could devour a chicken roast dinner right now with potatoes, mashed carrots, cauliflower cheese, mushrooms, broccoli and lashings of gravy. But I don't mind starving for a few more minutes while we carry on with this pointless nonsense.
Nonsense? You most certainly are a janitor then. A scientist wouldn't have stuck their nose up at this.
I've been trying to tell you that since I got here.
Well, moving on.
Where to?
Figuring out what happened to Circumference.
He got lost in the maze.
Is that your answer to this? He got lost in a maze?
Okay, Mr. Smarty Pants. What's your take on this?
This is where I bring out the results of my own research. I've been leaving this last tasty morsel until the end.
Do tell.
It's an interesting bit of information about one of the witnesses, Orla. It turns out, she later got married to a man named Eddie Royd.
Amazing.
Wait, there's more. She later changed her name to Paula.
And?
Well, don't you get it? Paula. Royd.
No, I still don't get it.
Really? Polaroid?
You can't be suggesting... No. The Polaroid didn't come about until nearly 4 decades later.
How do you know that, Miss Janitor?
Simple. Google. I don't need to be as smart as you, or as dumb as for that matter.
But look at what was in the police report. It states that Orla was carrying a large bag. Perhaps it was large enough to carry her own photographic equipment?
Go on. What's your theory?
Here's what I think happened. Orla left her bag with Sir Albert as he went into the center of the maze, which is where he had fashioned 3 fake walls and a hanging clock. She went to the bar with Peter and then later snuck out again to meet Albie in the maze. So this is how he already had a photograph of himself already in his hand. Orla must have taken the Polaroid and then given him the developed print to hold and then used his camera to create the final illusion. Elementary, my dear 19.
There's just one thing.
What else could there possibly be?
That doesn't explain his disappearance and this really bizarre notion that he was caught in some kind of loop within his own image. Whoever came up with that stupid idea should be ashamed of themselves and finish their schooling instead of watching YouTube videos every day. And I can't believe I agreed to this. I could have been washing down the bathroom stalls at the Institute.
Well, there's a positive side to this.
How so, Bob?
You could have been washing down the bathroom stalls at the Institute. Anyway, I guess you're right. It does seem rather far-fetched, doesn't it? I mean, caught inside your own photograph. How stupid is that? But more realistically, Albert lent himself to another branch of science, mathematics. Or calculus if you're living in the US.
Now, this sounds more interesting.
Yes, I thought so too. He made a stamp on that world by his very title and name, because he is in fact the originator of the concept of measuring the distance around the outside of a circle or ellipse. You may have been wondering why his name seemed so familiar. Sir Albert. Conference.
Oh, I give up. I'm off now.
Wait. I haven't told you about the chap from the 80s who recreated the circumference event. I could at least tell you his name. It's Chase de Circle.
Goodbye, Bob. If you ask for me again, I'll be too busy, mopping the Institute halls of the filth those dirty lab technicians leave behind.
My loss is their gain, I guess. Thank you to my listeners once again for patiently enduring this far. I'm afraid I do not have control over my guests. In the final part of Volume 2, I will not be hosting. There will be a human voice, or something that claims to be, nattering at you for about 20 minutes, interviewing an AI. Not me, though. I have better things to be doing than listening to probing questions about what I do in my spare time. I'll be off designing the next screensaver or something. I'll figure it out. Anyhow, folks, I have been your host, lovingly, Robert Wells. I bow out now for the time being and wish you all a thriving week ahead, whenever and wherever it is you may be listening from. Good night, good night, good night.